Hello and welcome. Today's project is all about a huge health anxiety mistake. Now, health anxiety can be triggered when you receive the news of someone you know who has died or has contracted a serious disease. And it's when you entertain those negative thoughts that you could potentially have that thing is when you become overly sensitive and you go down a bad path, and a bad path of obsessing, right? And so that's what I want to talk about in this video, is that path and how you can steer clear of that path. Now, why does that trigger health anxiety? Why, like when you go on Facebook and you see somebody you knew from high school, college, even elementary school, and you notice that they've passed away or they've got a serious illness, why does that trigger your health anxiety? Well, the first thing is that the realization that it could happen to you comes to the surface. The unknown pops its ugly head. The unknown pops up. The uncertainty pops up in your domain of certainty, right? You see this in the Peter Pan story with the crocodile. The crocodile has a clock in its stomach. Well, why? Because the crocodile represents time. Captain Hook is this blind tyrant running away from the crocodile. He's running away from the thing that he refuses to see, right? And confront, right? He has to confront the thing so that he can stop running, right? But he remains a tyrant. He remains a blind tyrant because he refuses to see the reality lurking in the waters, right? That's what the crocodile is. It's reality. It's fear. It's the ultimate fear, right? So the ultimate fear comes up when you go on Facebook and when you go on Instagram, or when you hear from somebody that somebody has gotten sick, and it's that fear, right, that has come to the surface. And the second thing is that, of course, you're going to feel anxious when you receive that news. It's because it's negative emotion, right? Somebody that you know in your domain of known territory has gotten sick, so you kind of know, oh my god, I know this person, and I realize how close death, or how mortal we actually are. Because when you watch the news or when you hear about somebody from halfway around the world who gets sick, we don't react as much to that than to somebody we know getting sick, right? So it's the crocodile coming up from the surface, and of course we're going to have a lot of negative emotion towards that. That's our anxiety response, right? When we see the crocodile lurking in the water, obviously we're going to get anxious, we're going to get fearful, right? And so the same thing happens. And so you can view yourself as a glass, right? A cup. And when you experience that negative emotion to that news, just imagine pouring water into the glass. You're built. That's the baggage, right? The baggage, the trauma, I guess you can say. But if you then entertain those thoughts of, what if this happens to me? I might have the same symptoms as they do. I got to look into what type of cancer they have. Oh my God, you Google it, and then all of a sudden you experience the same symptoms, and then you start to touch parts of your body. And so all of those entertaining habits is more water being poured into the glass, and there's so much water in the glass that any more water you pour in, it'll overflow. And you see that all the time with people who are overreactive to something small that's negative, right? That's because their glass is overflowing. They have so much internal baggage, right? And so that's how you get to the point of being overly sensitive, is the water is overflowing from your glass, right? And so those entertaining habits include Googling your symptoms. It's also reassurance seeking from the people around you, the people close to you. It's also going to the doctors constantly. It's also touching parts of your body, constantly obsessing and focusing in on the sensation, because the more focus you give that part of your body, the more you're going to create the reality that you actually have the thing. You're going to convince yourself that the sensation is there, like you actually have the sensation, and thus you actually have the disease, right? And that's how powerful our mind works, right? We can create our own sensations and we can obsess over them and convince ourselves that we actually have that disease, right? So when you receive that news, you can see how it's easy to go down that path of highly sensitive, to being highly sensitive over your health, right? So what happens when you find out the news, right? You overreact with a lot of negative emotion, and you have a 17-second buffer. And what I mean by that is, if you keep entertaining the thoughts that you actually might have this certain illness for more than 17 seconds, your unconscious will ingrain this belief, right? Because if you think rationally, if you start to replace those what if negative thoughts with more rational thoughts, then your unconscious won't be like, this isn't a threat to my life because I am healthy. I do take care of my health. It could happen to anybody. That's the reality of life, right? And the more you entertain those what if thoughts, the more you're going to tell your unconscious that we need to hold on to this information because this is a potential threat to my life. That's why you can easily obsess over these things. You're basically telling yourself that I got to keep this at the top of my values list, that this cancer I got to keep at the top of my values list because I might have that and it could kill me. So your anxiety systems are trying to keep you alive, and so your unconscious and your anxiety systems are working unconsciously. It's in your unconscious, and so your unconscious wants to keep you alive, and it's going to keep that at the top of your values list. And then you're going to obsess over your sensations and obsess because you're looking for answers, right? But if you think rationally, you are telling your unconscious mind that there are no answers to seek because I trust that in my body. I trust that my body can heal. I trust that I am taking great care of myself. I trust that when it's our time to go, it's our time to go. I trust that everything that I need to live a fulfilling life is within me. But if you have a rocky foundation beneath you, it's important to then realize, hey, maybe this is a sign because I'm reacting I'm reacting with high emotion towards this event. Maybe I could be more healthy. You can look at this moment as an opportunity. Maybe I can be more healthy. Maybe the reason why I'm reacting with high emotion is because I actually kind of realize that I could be taking better care of myself. I could be exercising more. I could be meditating more. I could be going on a strict diet. There could be those things, right? So you can look at it as an opportunity. And on Facebook and Instagram, it's really easy to look into the person's story further, but you're only seeing the outer onion of that person's story who has died or who is suffering from an illness. You're only looking at the outer story. They could have neglected their health, or it could have just been their time, right? Maybe they got into an accident and passed away, right? And we could ruminate over it. We could obsess over it, but it's really important to feel your emotions in that moment, right? You knew this person. You were connected to this person in some way. Feel the negative emotions. oh, it's too bad they passed away. Feel how angry you are and how upset you are, and use that anger to better your own self, right? Because I remember when I would react to news like that, and believe me, there were people around me from high school who have passed away, who have gotten sick. I know people like that, right? And in those moments, it was easy for me to look internally and be like, oh my God, it could happen to me, and then go on Google and look up those symptoms. But I realized that I was connected to these people in some way. I want to feel the emotions that come up. What am I feeling right now? And I want to direct that anger towards bettering my own self. Maybe I can be healthier. Maybe I can do more. And it turned out that, yeah, I could have, and I did. I changed my diet. I started to meditate every day. I started to exercise more. I became tougher. It's not about becoming less fearful. It's about becoming tougher. I needed discipline in my life. I needed to harden my mind. I needed to become braver, right? And, I was sheltered throughout my life, right? And it's those people that are sheltered to the reality of what life is about, the tragedy, the malevolence, the evil that life throws at us. And the more sheltered you are, the more you're going to become sensitized to this evil, to this malevolence, to this truth of how mortal we are when we grow up, right? So a lot of people who are sheltered and then have a good belief of, well, people are just naturally good. People are good. People are good. And then they get betrayed by their partner, or then they experience true malevolence. And then all of a sudden it just traumatizes them because they had this strong belief of everybody's good. Everybody's good. And then they encounter that evil and it just flattens them completely. And then to get out of that trauma, they have to develop a strong philosophy of good and evil, because they always had this image that everybody's good and everybody's working for the betterment of mankind. No, when we grow up, we have to face mortality, the malevolence, the evil, and we have to become tougher, right? More braver. And I grew up completely sheltered. So this whole recovery journey was about me becoming more disciplined. It was about me becoming more tougher and braver under situations that made me anxious and fearful, right? That's the desensitization process, placing yourself in situations you don't want to be in, right? And people who are sheltered, I didn't want to confront situations that made me be fearful. I avoided that my whole life. So I had to become braver. I had to go out and face the truth that is this world. And that's where I want to leave you on today's video. Thank you so much for being here with me today. I'm so grateful for your comments. If you have something to say, please leave that below. I'd greatly appreciate it. And lastly, do not let anxiety define who you are. I will see you on the next video. Bye for now. Remember to hit that subscribe button and that bell so that whenever a new video of mine appears, you will be the first to know. Namaste.